Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. It feels like this spring we have had nothing but wind, at least in my neck of the woods. Pretty much everywhere I fished, I feel like it's been an extremely gusty, windy spring, and that can lead to a lot of fishing troubles. But I'm here to tell you, you can use the wind to your advantage. So today I want to provide you with three places I really like to fish when it's windy, and three areas I try to avoid if it's windy. I feel like these are really good places to start and really good places to avoid, and this will help you get a few extra bites throughout the day. Now, I want to remind you guys, if you're looking for more content from me, additional tips, things like that, check out my members only page. We have a monthly live stream. We do, you can have direct access to me, a couple extra monthly videos. So check that out. Also, if you want to support the channel and need to purchase tackle, please use my Tackle Warehouse affiliate link. I'll put that in the video description as well. All right, so let's talk about the wind. The wind can be both your friend and it can be your enemy. In a lot of instances, if you're talking about utilizing the wind, what you want the wind to be doing is either positioning the fish or blowing with the current to increase current speed, which helps position the fish in areas that are very easily to attack from an angler standpoint. So if I'm fishing, one of the first places that I'm going to be looking for is your saddle type areas. So the saddle could be two islands, and then the saddle's the connecting land between the islands. It could be 2 points as you enter a small bay or a creek. Those are areas where if the wind is blowing into or out of those areas, you're going to get current over that saddle. That saddle's going to become a high position feeding area. And from that standpoint, they are great locations to fish. Now, with that, another area that I love to fish is what I would call half a saddle, otherwise known as a point, right? So if you've got a point, if that wind is coming along the one side of the point, it's going to be creating current off the tip. If it's blowing directly into the point, it's going to be pushing bait fish up onto the point. No matter what, that point is going to have some wind blown bank on it. And from that standpoint, that's going to create current. You're going to have bait fish up there. You're going to have a lot of position that are positioning really well based on the point. So your point, your saddles, two of my absolute favorite places to fish. And the third high percentage spot that I would recommend you checking out is a wind blown break line. So if you've got a big feeding flat and then you've got the wind blowing into that flat and you have a nice defined break line at the start of that flat, there's going to be a lot of action going on there because you've got the wind that's literally blowing all those nutrients, all those bait fish into that break line, and then the water gets forced up and over. The bass are going to be utilizing it just like it was river current. Very predictable place to fish, great location. A lot of times it'll take all those fish that are scattered up on the flat, bring them to the break line, make them much more accessible to the angler. So those are three of my absolute favorite places to look. Now, having said that, the wind is not always your friend. As much as I want to say we can use it to be our friend, sometimes it hurts you. So one of the worst things the wind can do is if you have natural current going through your lake, which most man-made reservoirs and rivers do, you're talking about the wind blowing against it, slowing that current. It really changes the positioning of the fish that are so used to taking advantage of the current. So from that standpoint, I try to stay away from areas that have the wind blowing against that natural current. If you slow the current down on any body of water, lake or river, where those fish are used to the current, the fish will get lockjaw and they'll wait for that current speed to pick back up. So if I can avoid those areas, I'm definitely going to try to do it. So that's the first thing. Whether that's a lake or a river, you want to stay away from it. A second thing is what a lot of us tend to want to do, and that's to head to the protected areas. I really try to stay out of the protected bays, the banks where the wind's not blowing on it, because the majority of other anglers are looking for it, and therefore on our high pressured lakes, those bodies of water are tending to get pounded in those areas. So if I can stay away from where all the other anglers are, I'm definitely going to try to do that. It's not always possible. If you have a 30-mile-an-hour wind, you got to find protected areas. But if at all possible, I recommend trying to stay out of those areas. The last spot that I'll try to stay away from are your deep offshore structure areas. So if it's a deep hump, deep break lines, deep anything, and deep is going to be a relative term based on your fishery, but generally speaking, you're 20 plus feet of water. What happens is those fish tend to be less affected by the wind. And from that standpoint, if I can stay away from it, I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to move up into some areas where you have more of a pinch point from bottom to surface, meaning you have the bottom coming closer, you get a lot more water funneling through it. Just like on a river, if you have a deep hole, you have slower current. If you have a shallow riffle, you have faster current. So the deeper the water, it tends to be less affected on those fish. So the deep water fish, they will still position based on it, but a lot of times it can be harder to fish that stuff because you're out in the wind. And at the same time, those fish just aren't going to be as aggressive just based on the wind because they're less affected. There's less current to trigger them into biting. So hopefully, guys, these tips to help you catch a few extra fish the next time you go out. Don't be afraid of the wind. We got to learn to deal with it. And I think if you utilize these tips, it'll help you put more fish in the boat. Thanks for watching. I appreciate all your support. And if you enjoyed today's channel, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned. We'll have a new video coming out tomorrow.